Welcome back, everyone. So in this video, we're going to be adding Supabase to our application, or you can add Supabase to any other application that you have. So we're going to start from scratch. So we're going to see what Supabase is and how we can add it to a project. So Supabase is an open source Firebase alternative. So if you used Firebase before, this might look familiar. You can start your project with a Postgres database, which is a relational database. They have authentication services, instance API, edge functions, real-time subscription, storage for your files, pictures, videos, etc., and vector embeddings. So first thing we need to do, if you don't have an account, we need to go ahead and click on sign in. If we don't have an account, we could go on sign up. And we can sign up with our GitHub, but if you prefer email and password, you can do that as well. So I'm going to say continue with GitHub, authorize it, and this should create an account, a new account for us. Let's just give this a second while our account gets set up. I'm going to pause it here, whoop, or maybe not. Perfect. So right now we go right to the dashboard and to our projects. So in here, we don't have any projects. This is a brand new account. So what you can do here, you can create a new project. We can give this project a name. So we can call it social app or whatever you like. We need to set up a password for your database. So you can generate a password here. And then you can save the password, which is the recommended way, and copy that. And then you can paste this somewhere in your notes. I'm going to paste it on the side. I can have that there. And then you can pick the region for the basically your AC location where you want your server or your database to be deployed. I think I'm closer to the East US, North Virginia, so I'm going to pick that region here. And I'm going to create my project, so just select whatever is closer to you. And then let's just hit create project. Let's just a second, and we could say never. And right here, this is going to take you to your new project inside of your projects. We're going to wait until the projects get completely set up, and then we're going to follow the steps here in order to set everything up. So I'm going to pause the video here. I'm going to wait for the project to be completely set up. Okay, so my project is completed. Now we have a way to connect. We have a new screen here, and the next step will be to either create a new table using SQL or just a table editor, which we can open on the left hand side here. We have the table editor. We can create a new table here. If you want to use the SQL editor, you can write your SQL commands here. But because this is a beginner friendly, we're just going to use the table editor here. So from here, we can create a new table, and we can click on create new table. We can give it a name. Let's just give it the name post, and description is optional. I'm going to disable the row level security for now. So we don't have to deal with some policies and stuff, but you can always read a little bit more about this. It's just easier to get started without this, but you can always come back and turn this back on. And then here you will add your different columns and that you need. So right now we have an ID, which is right now set to the type of int 8, or we could change that to something else. We could change that to, let's see, let's change it to a UUID, unique identifier, which is going to be, it's just going to get a random unique identifier instead of just starting from 1 and go all the way up to whatever amount of rows we have. And then we're going to keep the created ad as a timestamp, and then we're going to add a few more columns. So let's click on add column, and we're going to give it a name of text, and the type is also text. So in here we're going to store the text from the post, and then here is null, and in here we can change it to be set as null, or you can set a empty string if you want. And here you could mark this type as primary. There's a few more options in here, if it could be nullable, if it needs to be unique. So in here is nullable. We don't want that. We want to make sure this is that we have text. So we're gonna tick this off, and then we can keep it as null. That's fine in here. Then we need like a way to store the likes for the post. So we're gonna call it likes, and we're going to set it to a int of 4 bytes. And that should be enough to store enough likes for our post. So here we're gonna click here. Is nullable. Let's just take this off, and let's initialize it to 0. And then we can add another one. Let's just call this one repost. And also it's going to be a type int 4. It's going to be 0. By default value is 0. And we're going to take this off. What else we're going to do? We're going to do a sponsor, just to add a few more here. So we're going to say if the post is sponsored by some company or some entity. So we're gonna set it to a boolean, because it's gonna be just true or false, so bool. And we can initialize it to false as the default value, and we can take this off. We want a value to be there. And finally we can do like flag in here, because we want to be able to later, when we add the moderation functionality from OpenAI, we can mark this this post to check if it was flagged or not at some point. So here we're going to also click boolean and set it to false, and we're going to take this off as well. And you can add more things, more columns to your table. But basically this is the minimum that I need. Later on we can come back to this and make this better, but for now this is everything we need. So text null, that's fine, and let's hit save. You can always come back and edit your table, and you can add new things to the table, new columns as well. So now that we have the table, our table is empty, you can import CSV or whatever you want, but we can click insert here, and we can insert a new row. The ID is going to get a random ID by default. Created add is going to get the now value, or the time stamp of now, whatever time is at the moment. And then we can pass in a some text here for our post. So let's just have let's just create a couple here. So let's have a hello world, why not? And likes is gonna be by default 0, repost 0, sponsor is gonna be false by default. So everything else is kind of like default values, and everything we need will be to add the text. We can hit save. We have a new record here, and we can insert a few more. You can see we have the UUID, created add, text, likes, repost, sponsor, and flag also set to false. Let's add like 2 more. Let's do learning Supabase, and we're gonna save. And let's add 1 more, just so we can have some data to render later on. And let's say building something new with Next.js. Oops, in here. All right, a couple of posts in there, hit save. And now we have some initial data for our database. So now we need to be able to connect to our database from our application. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to the documentation for Supabase. So I'll show you where we can find that. I'm going to put this to the side. And in here, we have the Supabase documentation. So you can go to supabase.com/docs. And here, you're going to be able to pick any framework that you're using or playing React, Flutter, Kotlin, whatever you will be using. You can go ahead and pick whatever project you're working on. So we're working on Next.js. We're going to pick Next.js here. And here, they are going to tell you to go and create a project. We already have a project. So we can skip this here. They should be giving you some command to paste in the SQL editor. We already created a table, so we can skip this part. This is to create a new Next.js application with Supabase with a template. We already have the application, which is our social app, but we're gonna skip this here. And the next thing we gotta do is to basically, let's go actually in this page, because when you go here to supabase.com/docs, and let's see it again here, press this, scroll down. So after that step there, we're going to see that in step 3, it's basically where we need to continue. We're going to create a .env.local, and we need to create these 2 environment variables. So I'm going to copy this here, and we're going to head over to our project. This is one of the top level files, so a new file all the way at the top. Let's call it .env.local, and we're going to paste the environment variables there. Then you're going to have the values here. So you're going to get the project URL value. I'm going to copy this here, and I'm going to bring it over to this environment variable. So I'm going to cut this, paste it here. And same thing I'm going to do with the next value that we need to copy, which is the key. And then we're going to bring it over to this environment. And never share your environment variables, any of these values with anyone. I'm going to delete these as soon as I'm done with the video. So make sure we don't leave any placeholder text here. So that way we don't have any problem connecting to our database. So that's everything we need for now. So we can close that up. And then if we look at the next steps here, the next step will be to, we need to create a folder where we're going to have our clients. We're going to have there's 2 clients, one for the front end and one for the server side. So client and server side. So we're going to need both. There's some things we need to do in the front end and some things need to be done in the back end. So we're going to, let's say this is the page actually, and this is the server. And let's see in here. Yeah, this is TypeScript. We can definitely use this one. Let me just double check something. Okay, so in this page, this one looks a little bit different and we don't have the other client code. This is only for the server. So I found the other documentation. So you can either go to this page in another tab, or I will leave this this link inside of the description. So in here, we're going to see that we can set up everything we need from the Next.js guide. So we can have we're going to install this. We have the same environment variables that we need. And then we have the code for the client and for the server clients that we need to create. So we're going to continue from here. So we're going to copy this here. So let's copy the client.ts, and what we're going to do, we're going to go to our project, and we're going to create a tab level folder, which we're going to call utils or lib, whatever you prefer. And I'm going to create a new folder, Supabase, and inside here, we're going to create a new client.ts. Doesn't need to be tsx because we don't have any JSX. And I'm going to copy that again, and copy. So click on client, copy that, bring it over, Control V. And right now it's not going to find the Supabase, so we definitely need to install this in here. So let's copy this here, just type it out. I'm going to copy this package. We're going to install this. I'm going to stop my server. And I'm going to paste it in there, hit enter, and it should be able to pick it up in a second. While this gets installed, we're going to right click here again. We're going to create a new folder, call it server.ts. And we're going to copy server client connection. And we're going to bring it over to the server. And now we're going to be able to import the client, the server client, or the client for the front end. And now it's not ready anymore because we already installed the two packages that we need. Now we can run the app again. And if you look in here, I think this is everything we need. There's a few more steps here, but we don't need the middleware right now. You can go ahead and continue this, but this is going to set up the authentication and everything. We don't need to do that right now, so we can continue moving forward. So what we're gonna need, we're gonna close this up, and at the moment we have everything we need in order to start using the Supabase database. So we already have our table, and from the table we are going to be able to, well, now using the clients, we're going to be able to access our data from the table. So let's do that now. Let's go into our feed page. So let's go to app feed page.tsx, and let's see how we can access the data right away. So in here, let's see, we are going to import our create client, and we're going to pick the client one in here, not the server one. Actually, yes, the server, because by default, remember, every page, every component, they are a server component. So we are actually going to use the server one. So we import the create client function, and then inside of the feed page in here, we're going to say const Supabase equals, and we're going to set this to, we need an async function. So because we are in a server component, we can just mark this as async, and we can do here and await, and then we'll call Supabase. And then here we can do a dot from, where we can, come on, Supabase equals, whoops, no, my bad. I need to call the create client first. I'm going too fast. And then after we create the client, that's when we actually can try to access our data from Supabase. So we're gonna do const, actually we can do const curly brackets, and then we can say this equals to await Supabase dot from, which is going to allow us to pick the table we want. So we're going to say post, and then we can say dot select all, or select asterisk, the wildcard. And then we can also specify an order. So we can do a dot order, and then we can say we want to order by the created underscore at. Then we can pass in, let me just put this in line. Then we can pass in comma, and we can pass in ascending, false, if we want to get the latest ones. We can refactor, we can save, and now we should be able to destructure here the data or a error. And that's it. We bring in the client, we initialize our client here in Supabase, and then we are able to specify which table, select whatever we need, and order by created at. So in here, we could say, and actually, let's put this inside of a try catch really quick. So I'm gonna cut this. I'll say try. This is gonna be error. This is console log. Any error that we get, and then paste this back in here. So if we do get an error, so if error is true, we're going to just throw a new error. Whoops. And we're gonna say, let's just say error fetching post, just so we can know for now. If we pass this, we're going to console log the data. And let me hide the terminal. Oh, actually, we're gonna need the terminal now to see it, so I'm gonna keep it open. So now we should be able to navigate. Make sure you save the file, and let's navigate to the feed page. And it's compiling. But now we should be able to see data in a second. Hello. File. We're in the feed page. Okay, let's go navigate back to this. Open this here. Uncheck runtime. We don't have any errors. We have a console log. We should be getting some data here. Let me do everything. All right, so it wasn't refreshing, so it just I had to close the tab and then reopen it. Everything was fine. There's no changes at all here. Probably the page was cached, so it wasn't really requesting a new page. But now in the terminal here, so remember the components, this is a server component, so this is running, this gets run and render in the backend before it gets sent it to the browser. So the console log, we will see it inside of the server terminal here. So we can see an array, and we can see we have 1, 2, and 3 different hosts. So we have this one, and the hello world that we have in here too. So now we have some data there. So let's see if we can render the data really quick just to see it in here. So down here, we're just gonna have curly brackets for now. Let's say data, the map, data, the map. Why this is. And then we're gonna grab each post, and we're just gonna render a div for now. Nothing is working. And let's put curly brackets here, and let's do post dot text just to show the text. And then in the div here, let's set the key prop to post dot id in here. And data here is not defined. Let's refresh. Let's see. Data is not. Why nothing is working? This is fine. Okay, because maybe let's see something here. Okay, cool. It's just because it's inside of the try catch at the moment. Oh, don't worry, we can just do it without the try catch for now because we're still gonna move this logic. We're just not gonna keep it here. We're gonna move it to a separate file. So sorry about that. We just remove it for now. And we should be able to render this on the screen. We can see we have our 3 posts and we are reading the data from our table, from our post table. So now if we want, you can always go back to the table here and you can add a few more. Right now I'm just gonna keep it at 3 because the next step will be, first we're gonna move the logic here to a action folder so we can have everything in one file. And then we're going to be working on a form that we can create new posts from within the page. And for that, we're going to need a client component. So we'll do everything in the next video. So I'm going to stop here and I'll see you in the next video.